We have the meeting of the Berlin Historical Commission, which was posted for 10 a.m. today. We have attending the 3 members of the commission, Barry Yeager, June Miller, and Elaine Wickstrom. And we're going to proceed with our attempt at business here. First thing on there was prior minutes. I don't know. I haven't reviewed them lately, so I'm not sure what about them, but I'm assuming that. Are we ready to act on them or not? June, did you have any leftover questions about them?
About the minutes?
Yeah.
Yes. On page 2, just above the adjournment, in our conversation about the Hearst House, which was very brief, you noted that the ZBA exempted that building because of its educational purpose. But I don't think I know what it was exempted from, so I put a little question mark.
Zoning bylaw. It was zoning bylaw regulations like side yard.
Okay,
Because it's too close. It's very close to the property boundary. It was
Okay.
that kind of. It was that kind of provisions that it was exempted from.
so I'll just, from bylaw regulations.
Local zoning bylaw.
Okay, local, okay.
Okay. I just have one question.
Yes, Elaine.
I'm confused. At the very bottom, it talks about changing the date.
Oh,
Change it.
Yeah, that's what I guess
Oh,
that's why.
you know
that's-
what? I think when I copied, and
Yeah,
did a new
Yeah.
Word doc, that was left over. So I'm sorry about that.
well, that's what
So
confused
no
me.
wonder
about-
you were confused.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. 'Cause I
okay.
thought, and then I'm reading on, I said to myself, well, wait a minute, it's not our next meeting. You know, we've had that meeting. That's,
Yeah.
So anyway,
So
we
that
go.
should be struck from,
okay.
okay, so I'll, well, that'll teach me.
Okay. All right.
Anything else on that?
I don't think there was anything else. That was what confused me.
Sorry. Oh, boy.
Thought I was losing it.
Well,
I'll ask you to approve the minutes then.
Yep, so moved.
I'm going to go with a little bit different order. And that is that I'm not going to require seconds to motions when there's only 3 of us on the board.
Okay,
That was an old thing they used to do at the Berlin School Committee. With only 3 people on the board, one person makes a motion, that's good enough to put it on the floor for the 3. And then we'll act on it and so forth. I'll ask you to vote. Barry, aye.
June,
Elaine, I.
Yeah, let's vote. That takes care of that one. I'm going to move into updates of various things. The moving process is kind of at a standstill, partly because of weather, and we can't ask the town people to come move things and do things when they're right out straight with winter weather, which we've had for the last couple of weeks off and on. So we'll get it going as soon as we can when things are reasonable. But as of right now, the weather pattern has such frequent storms that I don't see it happening for another week or two. But if we can get those guys to come one time and spend an hour, they'll get some things moved so we can move ahead again. that is just kind of where that one is. I don't think I have much else to report that's new. The other key thing, and it's the key thing for our business today, is to get ourselves squared away on our proposal for the shell of the house.
Right.
I
Did you
spent a
get-
lot of, yeah, I've seen emails about it, but I had when I first looked at it, I spent a lot of time in my head working on the windows and getting that squared away, and neglected to count the doors carefully. There were 5 doors mentioned there, and neglected the fact that one of them's already taken care of. So, yeah, one of them already has its own stone door. So we just all kind of goofed on the numbers there.
Yeah.
And I think I'd like to kind of go through it again. And since we've got to reevaluate anyway, let's consider a couple of other things.
Okay, can I make a few comments while
Sure.
we're doing this? Okay.
Sure.
All right, well, you go through your list and then we'll do a checklist after, okay?
Okay. All right. The door on the front corner of the house facing the town hall. The inside door has some problems because of the way the house is shaped and everything else. And it's never worked well since we've owned it. We used it quite a bit when we had to. But since we've had our new door on the same wall of the house, we haven't used it at all. And it's been covered with a piece of plywood for a while. Rather than spending money for a good storm door for it, when we're not going to use it, and I've discussed that one with Bruce Ricard as fire chief some time ago in terms of exits and stuff for the house. And we basically agreed that that door wouldn't be used, and it'll have a sign on the inside at some point that says not an exit. And for that reason, it seems to me that rather than putting on a storm door to a working storm door, that we might have a careful job done to have it covered with plywood, perhaps some scored plywood so it'll look better from the outside, and just fit that to the door frame so it looks like it was a storm door, but in fact would be a panel to cover the door opening and keep the weather out, rather than spending money on a storm door that we probably won't use.
It wouldn't look very good anyway. On that door, my thought
Yeah.
was, why don't we eliminate it? If we can do the outside bulkhead. Okay, so for now, just cover it over, get, as you're suggesting, cover it over, and then eliminate it eventually.
Well, I've got a historical reason why I would rather not eliminate it, and that is that I think that it happened at the time that the house was remodeled and the and the stairway changed. And I'm talking about 1830s. That inside door is a Greek Revival period door, and that end of the house was remodeled for the two old maid sisters in like the 1830s. And so it's perfect historically for when it was supposed to be and so forth. And I'd like to have that door restored a bit and kept in place, but I don't expect us to use it as a practical door at all. And but that's why I think it would be just as well to, if we did an outside covering, and the outside covering could be painted black so it looked like a storm door, but not put a working door there, because we don't plan to use it as a working door anyway.
Yeah, but as we get into more work on the house, this brought up a lot of questions in my head,
Oh, sure.
future use and, securing the building. We don't really need 5 doors.
No.
And the one in the kitchen has to be replaced.
Yeah.
And I don't see why we couldn't just eliminate it.
Oh, I think, in terms of its use, we would eliminate it. But in terms of telling the story of the house, again, an important thing that's in that preservation plan for the house is the fact that we want the house to tell the story of its history.
Mhm.
And therefore, the features from different times and periods we want to maintain, even if we're not using certain different things. And it's a confusion with some of it. I mean, come on. Tim identified the door in the annex as being the only 18th century door, original door in the house. Well, it is an 18th century door. Whether it's original, I have no idea, because that part of the house wasn't built till the 20th century. And it may have been something used elsewhere from somewhere else in the house, but it may have been an 18th century door that somebody got from somewhere else and put in there, because it's a nice 18th century door, but it's not. I have no way to tell that it's an original thing in that house. The front
We
door.
plan-
No, say that again.
I was just gonna say, are we planning on leaving that door there?
I would say it makes sense to, just because otherwise you don't have. I don't have a plan to use it as a regular thing, but it seems to me it's kind of sensible to have a door over in that area, because there's
Right.
nothing over on that end otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. June, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that if we are able, it would be the existing door that faces the town hall that we don't expect to be a working door, but that the door itself can be restored.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Now, let's see.
So
So that one will be
so that's
covered.
the second door. Now the third door, what do you want to call the third door?
What, the front door?
Would that be the front door?
Yeah, I think the front door. If we start with door number 1 being the present entrance door,
Okay,
which already has its own forward storm door, and then we have 2 is the one that we'll go right around in sequence. 2 is the one in the front corner that we just talked about. 3 would be the front door, and that's already in the proposal. We do have the pair of hinges. June, you've seen those. I don't have pencils for those hinges. I was thinking of another pair of hinges that's on one of the old doors that's at the fire station, but the hinges are on the door, and I've realized that taking them off of it probably isn't too valid. So we've got another set of strap hinges, pair of them, and they're beautiful ones. They're about 30 inches long, and they'd be really wonderful for that front door. But we don't have pencils for those.
well, I would think you could get reproduction.
That would be my thought. And the other thing we can do is consult with Freddie Brewer. When we did the entrance door, he made the hinge pencil things for that with Al Macquarie. And so those were something he made. And I would think if we took him a sample of what we thought would work well for it, or something like that, he could perhaps make them. But we got to find out. Freddie is much less active than he used to be. Age is catching up a bit, and he's not spending all his time down back doing all kinds of projects now. I'm not saying he might not, but we would have to ask and see whether that was a possibility. Because he's made stuff like that when we've needed it done before. I've got a sample of one that's really good and pretty heavy that came from up the Coromets, and I've got to check that and see if it would fit those hinges. But if it would, we could take that to him as a sample to make a couple of them like that for the front door.
What if Freddie really doesn't want to take it on?
Well, then then we have to find somebody else. I suspect Tim has a blacksmith that he gets stuff like that from.
Right. Yeah, he does.
And that's another possibility. And I mean, he put the question right out, do you have the pintles for it? And the answer, I didn't answer it right off because figuring out which set of hinges we were going to use and so forth. I do have pintles for that other one, but I'm not, I think it probably is better to leave them with the door they came on than to go taking them off it.
Are we ever going to use that door?
Don't know the answer to that. It's a good 18th century door. It's a bit ramshackle. It was in use in the basement at 218 Linden Street before that was torn down, and it's certainly restorable and usable as an 18th century door. But at the moment, I don't have a place for it. It is too tall to use at the back door of the Bullitt House. I've got one there that I think is usable, an 18th century door that I took out of another house in Berlin on West Street years ago. And that one, with minor modification, I think could be used at the back door of the Bullitt House. That one's not very tall. One of the biggest problems with the Bullitt House is that the ceilings are all so low and openings are low and so forth, is that doors from almost anywhere else, especially if they're even a little bit later period, just are too big to go in that building. We had to pay almost $1,000 for that new door that we put in for the entrance door. And because it's such an odd size, we needed a 3-foot wide door for handicap, and yet it couldn't be significantly over 6 feet tall because the ceiling is so low inside that door. It's a typical problem, anything we try to do there with that kind of stuff. June?
So the plan would be sometime to also restore the inside front door.
Yes. That door, Tim's impression is that it doesn't look like an 18th century door. Maybe right, but it is the inside of it is planks. There's a couple of wide planks, and then there's paneling and stuff on the outside. It's not like an 18th century paneling, but that door is definitely the same one that shows in the picture that was taken in 1890 or so that was in the town history of the house. It's about the earliest picture we have of the house. And that same door was there then. So I can't imagine changing that one. It might get a little, it will need some restoration on the outside, but I think we want to keep it just because it's been there such a long time. Without question, it's been there for more than 1¼ centuries, and we don't know just how long before that. The description that we already have in the request for proposals is fine for that storm door, for the new wooden storm door. June?
It would seem that Tim would be willing to make that door, but he wants to offload storm door and storm window installation to somebody else.
A subcontractor is
Yeah.
how I read it. I don't think we have to find someone to do it.
But did you
The
did you think though that he inferred that he would make the front door storm?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
He
okay.
would do all that.
Yeah.
And get his own subcontractor is how I understood his note. I don't know if Margaret interpreted it that way. Doesn't seem as though Margaret interpreted it that way.
No,
Oh.
Because he
She
said
thought-
subcontractor, so subcontractor to Tim.
yeah, it seemed to me that she was thinking that we could just get somebody to do that and it shouldn't be included. I don't
Well,
know.
we could. I mean, most of the stuff on this thing, as Tim said, isn't stuff he needs to do. And a good competent contractor, I mean, somebody like Tommy Dorr could certainly do that job just fine. Look at all the work he did over the 19 Carter and various other things. You're buying equipment and putting it in, and he does that kind of thing all the time and does it very competently.
Who's,
Well,
who's gonna specify everything for that? I mean, I don't have,
Well, it's the same specifications that are already in there.
well, we're gonna go through all that. That's what I want to review
Okay.
all that. I want to review
Okay.
all.
okay.
Yeah. Continue around. That's door 3. Door 4 would be the one in the annex. And that would go with the new storm door 4. And door 5 is the kitchen door, which, because of the deteriorated condition around it, we know it's got to be rebuilt. We know we want to put a different door there than the one that's there. I think that the idea of just covering it in the short term is a good one. And the other thing that's in here there is to have the rebuild of the long window frame done now, or as part of this job, and that's also perfectly reasonable to do, and a storm fabricated for it, as is already in there. That's fine.
My thought on that was, why don't we just replace the kitchen door with a frame, you know, it's not a new door that's there now. And just put a modern door, you know, with its frame, the whole thing, and have it in place. You know, we have that done when you know, so that you have a door that you can come and go through safely.
So access, you think, I was started to think about access
Right, right.
as a long-term goal.
Right.
Uh,
I think we got to keep that door as a passage door somehow. And I thought, why don't we just replace it with a, you know, a store-bought, you know, unit that you can fit in, wood, you know, wood, not a metal door or anything like that.
Well, there is a door that might be able to be used there, but it would require some money to get it restored.
Well, that, yeah, we don't have
Yeah.
that kind of, yeah, we don't have that kind of money right now, I don't think, to do that.
But I don't know. I guess to feel okay about a modern door, you know, that's a prefab thing, I guess I'd have to see it. You know, I guess I'd have to just see a picture to see if it would look okay, you know, whether it would look all right.
They would look fine. I don't know if you're planning on having a different size opening when you do that.
That's a real.
We have
it's
to
a
look
real-
ahead.
It's a really tricky place. I have been thinking about the idea of trying to get an opening there that would be 32 inches clear, so that it would be a handicap door if it needed to be.
Well, that's what I wondered. Yeah.
And that's tricky because of the structure that's been put up above it, but that could be modified a little in order to work right. And the old door that I had there with the intent of having it put in there is within an inch or so of being big enough so that it would work for the 32-inch opening. That was part of why I selected it, is because we actually should be able to make that one work as a at least handicapped size door. And again, as far as buying a unit, it's very low overhead. That's a short vertical, and all your standard doors now are taller than that. So you're probably talking about having to have one custom made. That's what we had to do with the new door that we've got on the other end. We couldn't just buy a standard one. They were all too big and tall. So we had to have a custom one made for it. And
So the money the money's the same really to restore an older door to fit the opening that is decided upon,
Yeah,
and is the same as money, or could be the same as the money for a modern unit that is custom.
custom made, could be
Yeah.
similar, yes. They're gonna spend a few bucks to do it. But you are right that having a door there that we can use would be a good thing, even in the interim.
Right.
And that door and the present entrance door that we use are the two doors that I agreed with the fire department would be the two basic exits of the building.
Oh, not the front one, not the front door.
No, I mean, I won't say that nobody could ever open it and go out that way, but that would not be the official exits.
Okay,
Because there's a plan for exit signs and all that kind of stuff. And that was all put together based on the idea that that back door in the kitchen and the entrance door would be the two exits for the building.
okay,
So-
why don't we
so-
have Tim price it that way? You know, if you have that door,
Hmm.
okay,
Yeah,
why don't we have Tim, if he's doing the window, it would be a good time to do the door, because it's all that wall, and that would be done.
and that would be done. And
Am I-
and
am I correct?
the
Am I correct?
foundation,
Am I correct in assuming that there's no other work to be done on that wall?
no, because that was done, the foundation under that was done by Litchwell. Was a poured concrete foundation under that wall. So it's just the door and the window that are left as on that outside wall.
Okay, so you can make that door accessible for Tim, for
Yeah,
him to look at.
yeah. Yeah, and we don't need to do a ramp or anything for it, but if it's wide enough for a wheelchair in an emergency, for an
Right.
emergency exit, that's the big thing.
Right, okay. All right, so, where is that door? Is that in the fire station?
It's in the kitchen.
Oh, it's in the kitchen.
It's
Already.
right there. It's right
Oh,
there. Yeah.
Okay,
It needs the bottom of it. The bottom of it was decayed and is off, and it needs the bottom restored. And in the process of doing that, we make it the right size and plan the casing to go with it.
June,
Yeah, so I mean, when you go through that kitchen door now, your foot goes through the threshold unless you're very careful to avoid putting your foot on it.
Mhm.
Is that all part of a new frame?
Oh,
and
yeah.
would-
yes,
Oh,
and
yeah.
do you, are we are we certain that, that Tim has an understanding that the foundation area in that
it's all new.
is okay, that doesn't need to, that doesn't need any work?
I would think he'd know that when he saw it, you know.
But does the survey reflect that? I'm not sure that it does.
No,
No, it
'cause he-
doesn't.
No, it doesn't, because he said there was, there's too much there. You'd have to lift some stuff up to see it.
So,
Lift up
yeah.
some boards to see it.
so my point is, the door depends on that. Doing the door now depends on that. If he's going to, be the one to do the foundation or direct it.
Okay, I need to go up there and take up that piece of subfloor right in front of the door, that goes in front of the door, so that we can look at that from the inside of the foundation. That area was dealt with when they did that Ford Foundation. And Larry Brandt, as building inspector at the time, as a volunteer, and I put together the form for that foundation to pour it in. Dave actually got it done and finished up, but it was the building inspector was involved in that. And the only place that is of question at this point would be directly under the door, because right next to it, the other side is the bathroom, and that floor was up and when Tommy Dorr was working in there 2 years ago. And so the present building inspector would have been able to see that at the time. So I don't think there's anything, it would only be what's right under the door that might require a little something. And nothing there is very deep. Nothing goes down more than a couple of feet anyway in that area, because the ground is right up under that kitchen floor. But that's, and in the process of that, having that up, we will also be able to verify whether there's a vapor barrier under it and those things that were questions that Tim had in the report.
So this is what I have for the kitchen door, that we want to have access through that door. So the options might include the width being okay for handicapped accessibility. The door itself, there are a couple of options. One is to buy a modern unit, and the other, but it would have to be custom because of it's not a standard height. And the other option would be to restore and repair a door that's available.
And yeah, so that would be a refit too.
Yeah, and that's a custom job too, so.
Right.
But that choice, but all of those choices depend on our viewing the subfloor, viewing the foundation area right under the door. And we need to take up the flooring to make sure. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
and we'll try to do that. We'll try to do that this week, get that up. It'll just take a few screws out. All of that subfloor was put in there with screws, and we can just take them out and raise that up.
So then we need a storm door over that.
And then we need a storm door over that. Yes.
a regular one.
Yeah.
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 So that's just 2 storm doors, two
Yeah.
aluminum doors.
Yeah.
Okay.
But wouldn't the frame we don't know what the frame needs to be for the storm door.
Right. We won't know that until the work is done.
Until the work is done. That storm door would be done as one after the other work is done with the new frame and the new door.
So right now we only need one. We need one wooden board and batten storm door, and we need one aluminum door. We need a better covering, a better panel for the door that faces the town hall that we don't expect to be a working door.
Yeah, cover over with new.
And that's it.
I guess, June, that the piece that Elaine is talking, and at least I think, and I think I'm talking, is that we would have all of that work done on that back kitchen door, along with the redoing of the frame for the window as part of this job.
Right.
Okay.
Do you agree with that, Elaine?
I do.
Yeah.
So we're down to one aluminum door and one.
One aluminum door could go now, and then 2, the second one when the door is finished on the back.
But it's all part of one contract, or at least as of right now, we'd have it as one contract.
Okay, so they don't have to decide on the size of the storm until then?
No. But I'll guarantee that storm will have to be kind of a custom thing again because of height.
Yeah,
The one in the annex may not be such an issue in that regard, but that one is an odd height,
yeah,
especially with it's going to be wider and not as tall
yeah.
as the standards are.
All right, so, let's see. Okay. I want to review all the windows too,
Okay,
okay? We
Yeah.
okay with we okay with the doors?
I think I got it.
Yeah. And is it okay if I call Tim and ask him about this, about him working that with the window and? Or
Yeah.
should we-
yeah,
Okay. And you will, and I'll ask him about the, having pintles made too. Take that off your plate. I mean, for the door, for the front door.
yeah, I asked him about, I mean,
Possibility.
possibility, yeah.
Okay, and, yeah, I'm okay with that now. So the windows, we'll start with the town hall side again.
Yeah,
Okay,
The window next to the entrance room door.
Yeah.
Is a new window and just needs a storm.
right.
and
So
the
that's
same is,
window,
and the same is true for the other one in that room, which faces the back of the house.
On the back side, okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's two there that are new windows.
storm and,
do you want to go in the same order around the
can.
counterclockwise? Yeah,
I've started in
Okay.
a slightly different place though.
I'm sorry?
yes,
started
that's true.
With the one
That's
in the
true.
back, I've started in a slightly different place, but those
Yeah.
two are the same, so I'd
Yeah.
rather put those two together.
Okay, same size, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so the one, the other one next, near the other door on that side, is that any good? Is that one okay?
yeah, I mean, all of those other storms are old ones, but they're
They're
workable.
They're
They're
working
workable, yeah,
and they're not gonna fall off on us?
not that one, no.
Okay.
Um, there's also a window upstairs over the entrance door.
Right, I wanna do the whole side of that house. Okay.
Yeah,
So upstairs,
yeah,
so we don't need another one on the ground level on that side.
no,
Okay. So upstairs. All right, what about those, what is there, 2 windows? One,
yeah, one of which is missing its storm.
okay, so that requires a new one.
Mhm.
One,
That's the one that did fall off a year or so ago.
Is that directly above or mostly above the entrance room door?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, attic. Did we do,
Oh.
yeah, I was thinking that. It was like, it's a good thing this came up because, yeah, attic.
So that's window number 4.
Well, that's a tricky thing. When we did the roof, we did not put roof vents in. And of course, the large ridge pole makes that more difficult anyway.
Right,
But I dealt with the building inspector on it, and I said, in the summertime, there are two windows, small windows, one of them being the attic one on that end, that we take out and replace with a large wooden ventilator with screening behind it to ventilate the attic. And there's another one that's on the other end of the house that we do the same thing with. And I mean, those were things that have been done in that house for years and years and years. I mean, those were there when we got the place. And you take them out in, you know, when roughly June hits, you take them out and you leave them until the end of September or so. And that is the ventilation for the attic that allows us not to have the ridge vents put in the roof. And so when we talk about storm, that is complicated because the storm could be in the way of putting the vent in.
So the ventilation, the ventilator is really a storm in a way. I mean, it's not a storm, but it's a protected opening
It's a protected opening in the summer,
in the summer.
but that vent comes out and the window goes in the winter.
Oh,
They're two separate units that occupy the same space. And you physically take one out and put the other in.
How big is that window? It's not a
It's,
regular, it's not a regular size.
No, it's roughly the size of a small window sash. It's not even a full-size sash.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a
what I
little bit
thought.
smaller than a full-size.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
So,
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that we need a storm in the attic, but I suppose it certainly is open to discussion.
why, I mean, why can't the ventilator be stormed from the inside in the winter?
Could we
You know,
put a storm on the inside in the winter?
well, not
second-
really a storm, but just a cover, just something to block it.
Oh,
I'll tell you what Tim did upstairs for us, because we had no
Mhm.
vent up there.
mhm,
At each end,
yeah.
we have, it was a custom vent, but there is a hatch that we can close in the winter.
mhm.
Just bring
No,
it down.
it's just, right.
Can you actually access that safely, that attic spot? You can.
Mhm. Oh, yeah. There's a second trick in that one. And the concept of having a vent built in there and then have it so you have a closure for the back of it in the winter is a reasonable solution. But that window frame on that end of the house really needs a rebuild and has right along.
Oh, okay.
I did change the sill years ago in order to stop water from coming in from it, but it's no significant job that was done. It just took care of that problem for the present. The other thing is that particular opening is the place where the antenna is for the fire alarm's wireless connection to the central station. And I don't know, that's something that makes it awkward in changing the window and that stuff. But we have to be careful what we do there because it certainly is in the way of, like having a nice hatch come down. It really is a tricky thing to deal with because that has to have a window or way to look out in order to work. It works in the summer when the thing is in because we've had an alarm work from there, but I don't know enough about what you could do there. And that thing is mounted about maybe 6 inches in from the window. so there's not much space to have something hinged to go in or out. But you could have a barrier that you slid in there and attached. But
Is
it
there
couldn't be opaque.
Is there room for a vent over that window?
Not really.
I can't, I
we-
can't
we-
picture it at the moment.
No, you can't picture it. That window is not in the center under the ridge pole. It's a little bit forward toward the front of the house.
So
in
is
other
there
words,
room?
Is
there
there a
room
place
up there?
for is there another place for a vent?
Yeah,
And the answer is, I think you could make one.
okay. So we ought to maybe secure that window with a storm, the window you have, and then with the other work that we do, put in a vent, a proper vent.
Put in a vent.
Yeah,
We would have to make sure we put that vent in at the same time so that we don't fix ourselves so we don't have ventilation.
right.
All right, I'll go up and look at that and see what we might do with it. I hadn't ever thought of having the vent be separate, but I don't know why it couldn't be. Most of that wall doesn't have an awful lot happening, and the chimney was taken out down to the floor of the attic, so that's not.
Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you. Yeah, okay, so that is out of there.
Out of the attic. It's not out of the first floor and the second floor. It's still there in the first floor and the second floor.
And it's not in the cellar?
No, because it's back in the part where there's no cellar.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'll go look and see if there's a different place we could put a vent, because you could have a vent that you could close up tightly with something behind it, and also have, and then we wouldn't need to have the window wouldn't be as I will also say that we need to be able to open that, though, because we actually put some of the wood preserves wainscot and stuff like that we saved that are up in that attic. We actually put in through that window, and I'm not convinced I could get it out anyway but through that window.
Well, if the big back window, is that going to be a hinged window that we can lift to clean, or is that going to just seal the window?
The back one, I think it's just the long back one. I think will just be sealed.
Okay.
So what's the upshot with the attic? What have we mostly decided? First of all, Barry will get up there and have to look at the space to see if there's a good spot for a vent.
For a vent.
Yeah.
And that vent,
and I don't have Tim's report in front of me. I was going to get that already tonight to look at. But did he talk about that window? I don't remember seeing that.
I don't remember him talking about the attic window.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. So but you say you think that window does need work anyway.
The frame.
Yeah.
The frame that frame needs work anyway. It has needed work right along.
Okay.
It's one of those things you get by with for years, but at the same time, it really could use a rebuild and a good sill.
Yeah. So how do we weatherize that window? Because if we're going to be using the building and heating the building, I mean, heat does rise, and that's where it's going to go.
Yeah, of course, there's no insulation under the attic floor in that end of the house, and that's one of the things to do with the insulation.
Right.
Is to do insulation under that attic floor.
Right. Right.
And if that were the case, this would be outside the envelope of the insulation.
All right.
So
Okay,
what,
so
so
is the
I just
window
want to make sure I have this right then. The attic is, how to treat the attic window is kind of up in the air based on Barry's inspection of whether or not there's a space to put a vent somewhere else. And that the window frame needs a rebuild.
Yep.
We need to be able to open whatever is there.
Yeah.
For access. So it doesn't look like a ventilator is going to be put in that opening. It's going to, right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
The idea we've been talking about today is to put a separate vent and
Yeah.
handle that as a separate deal
Right.
from the window.
Okay. So do we need a storm temporarily?
Because we're a ways from getting insulation done.
I would definitely not put a storm there until that frame is rebuilt, because it's gonna fit, might not fit otherwise, and so forth. So
So-
it may be that we don't put the attic as a whole into this shell plane, because there's another place that's similar to this on the other end of the house, in the back attic too.
Right.
Very, very similar. We have the same kind of event. We have the same kind of a need to be able to put long boards in and out through it and so forth.
Okay.
So you want to just leave it out for now?
I would say yes, but I do think we should proceed with looking over the alternatives so that we've got it in our heads for future action.
Yeah, is that a hinged window in, or you just take the window out?
You just take it out.
Okay. So if we had a hinge or a hinge up for the storm window on that.
Oh,
attached to
yeah,
That would be fine.
that would work if we could have a storm that was somehow hinged or easily removable, yeah. It's not like would have to come off all the time if we have a separate vent.
Once in a while, yeah.
It would only be a very occasional thing, yeah.
Okay, so coming around to the front of the house,
As far as I know, all the storms in the front of the house are okay.
they're okay?
Yeah, they're old. They're nothing special, but they're okay and they work.
Okay.
Excuse me. They don't work these days because I painted them all shut. But
Oh.
that makes them well sealed up.
This is on the outside, you painted them?
Yep.
Um,
And I've been gonna get at least a couple of them, so, so that they would be free, so they could be open. But the ones in the front of the house are pretty secure.
So
How
we're
many,
around,
how many windows is that? I can't, it's 4?
Five.
5.
5, excuse me. There's 5 upstairs and 4 downstairs, so there's 9.
5 up,
9.
4 down,
Yeah.
and they all have storms.
And most of those I've opened, with the storms in, I've taken the windows out and painted the sash so they were all red like the outside of the house, and put them back in again. So all of those have been secure. The only 2 that I haven't done that to are the upstairs ones in the ballroom. That doesn't necessarily have to be in the minutes. There are 9 windows in the front of the house and they all have secure storms.
Okay.
Okay, so, coming around to the other side, what is that, the west side of the house?
That's,
Northwest?
that's
West.
what it's west or southwest, yeah.
South, yeah.
Southwest.
I usually tend to say, even though the house faces southeast, I usually call the front side of the house south,
South, right.
because it's just easier to do it that way.
Right.
Well, that in the preservation plan, it's east, west, east and west, so
Yeah.
you'd have to, that are referred to a lot.
Yes, and so we're going to the west end of the house.
Okay, so the downstairs windows,
Mhm.
there's two on
There's
that side.
two downstairs, they both have storms on them. The wider one, the storm slips occasionally, and I go around and push it back in place from time to time. It's not great, but it's serviceable for the present.
Okay,
This is the
Uh-huh.
annex you're talking about now?
No,
No,
just
main
the
house, west end.
wall, yeah. So, and then upstairs,
Is the window that needs one.
and the attic is the same problem.
The attic window is a very small.
Yeah.
Double hung window, only
Oh.
they're not hung, but it's a two sash window. And that is, that's the sashes that we took out, and Marge Pond did a full resetting all the glass and all that. And so that's nice and tight and good. But there's no storm there.
Okay, so that needs a storm. And that would be,
If we decide to put storms in the attic, yes.
okay, and so
you-
now we're,
I'm sorry to be so dense, but at the west end,
the wall of the house,
West end of the main house.
before you get to the, before you get to the L, the annex.
okay, so that would be,
The parlor and the dining room, and then the ballroom, and that little window in the back, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing up above.
so the parlor, has,
Two.
The parlor has one window on that side, and that has a good storm.
okay,
And the gallery, what was once a dining room, the gallery has a storm on it. It doesn't fit great, but it's okay. It's okay for now. And then upstairs in the ballroom, there's one window. And that's the one that's had sash problems, and that needs a storm.
so that would be just two storms then, is that right?
Right.
No.
No?
Yeah. The house, the one that doesn't have one, and then the attic one.
Well, if you include the attic.
Yeah.
So the parlor storm, the parlor has one window that,
On that side that has a storm.
okay,
And the dining room has one.
The room behind it has a storm.
okay. So they don't need storms?
No.
No,
The ballroom needs one.
okay,
And if we decide to do attic windows, then the attic window.
okay.
Now, the small odd window on that end is in the back attic. And that's the one that's very similar to the other one we talked about on the other end. We have the need to be able to open it, and that is where the other vent goes in all the time. Sometimes in extreme hot weather, I open the other attic window above too, but
Okay,
Put
so
it
there are
in
two,
the
there,
net.
so there are two attic windows there?
one that's in the top attic and one that's in the back attic at the level of the second floor. That's the funny little one.
Okay, yeah.
And that funny little
we-
one comes out and has a vent that goes in, the same as on the other end of the house.
So the attic window on the back attic, behind the ballroom, that one should
Yeah.
have a storm. That one should have a storm.
And again, we've got the vent that has to go in that location at the present time.
So it's the top attic that needs a storm if we want it to have a storm.
Yeah. And that other one, it's kind of the same situation as the other end of the house. I'm
Wait a
wondering,
minute now. Okay, which one now?
the little one, the little funny window in the back attic has a vent that goes in it, the same as the one on the far end of the house that we talked about.
Okay. Can we go
Yeah.
back to the attic window on the other side then? Is that a funny little window too, or is that one?
It's just small and square, isn't it?
It's a single sash.
Single
It's a single
sash.
small sash with
That's what I
6
thought.
lights of glass in it. And that is, again, we have a window that we need to be able to put things in and out of. And we have a vent that goes in it in
Right.
the summertime. Then the
So-
question comes
so
in,
we-
do we want to try to put a different vent in that end of the house? I don't know what my answer
okay.
to that is. Maybe we even want 2 vents in that end of the house. If we're going to do a separate
you mean-
vent, and we would consider that for that end too, we might want to put one in the top attic as well as in the back attic, so that we'll have air moving through there in warm weather and keep them from being superheated under the shingles of the roof.
Okay, so the upper attic is the same kind of window as on the other end.
No, the upper attic is a regular two sash window. It's not very big, but it's a 2 sash window. Opens like a regular double hung window.
In the peak of the house, in the
Peak of the
in
house.
top?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got a funny little one with two sashes, and then you've got another small one up above with 2 sashes?
No. No. 2 sashes in the one that's up in the peak of the house.
Okay,
A single sash in the back attic
okay,
off to the
That's-
side. And that's the one that has to have the vent go on.
upper has 2, so the upper one has 2.
Yeah.
So
But there's
I
no
don't know
vent,
what,
but there's no
what's-
vent there.
there's no vent there now, that we only use that we have the vents that we put in the summer, that's all. I'm curious about Tim's philosophy on storm windows in attics, in unheated attics. I'd be interested to chat with him about that.
Okay, so now we've come to the annex.
Yep. The annex has 2 windows,
On the front? Or-
one on the front and one on the end. And both of those need storms.
Okay.
And those sashes need to be completely worked over, but as soon as we have storms on them, we can do that.
So those don't have any on them at all.
No,
Okay. And that's it for windows. There's nothing in that little
Nope.
attic.
Those windows,
no,
those two windows in the annex, I don't know why I can't remember anything, but are there two windows that actually kind of face the street as it curves around?
one that faces the street
And the other one's on
and
the,
one that faces the neighbor's house.
okay,
And those are 8/8 windows like the one in the gallery. Those are 1950s, somebody's idea of colonial. It's not colonial at all. But that's part of the development of the house. That's something, and those are parts of the house that are later additions, so it makes sense to me to leave them because that's part of the story.
All right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 6 full-size windows
Yeah.
and 2 smaller, funny little double sash windows. And
No,
2
no,
more.
there's only one double sash small window.
that's in the top attic on the west end.
Right.
And
Oh, right, right,
that needs a storm.
right. And then there's 2 that would need a single sash. Just one.
Yes.
So,
And the long window we've already addressed. That was
Right,
already addressed
right,
in
right.
the
That's
thing
a-
already,
that's a-
and I think that was fine.
Yeah.
And then there's a window in the bathroom
oh, yes, I was
on
coming
the
around the
back
back.
side.
Right,
And that's an odd small window, but that has a storm on it already.
it
That's
does,
okay. Yeah.
it does.
So the kitchen, the multi-paned kitchen window, I can't even remember now. Does it-
It's already in the spec that was described
Right,
Right.
and
And
what
what-
needs to be done to it.
okay.
It needs to be repaired and it needs to have a new frame built for it and so forth.
A
And
storm.
a storm built for, a special storm made for it. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
All of that's in there already.
Okay. So,
So not counting the kitchen window, there are still 6 storms needed.
Yes,
and 1 on the little double sash.
as I say, I really am, I don't know. I'm not much one for putting a storm window on an unheated attic.
Yeah, but it backs up to the ballroom. That's an open area.
What do you mean?
Isn't that right? Oh, no, that's the one up
Over,
above.
it's up above, yeah.
Yep, yep,
It's up
right.
above, yeah.
All right. Well, it's weatherproofing in my mind.
Well, that's another matter, yeah. And as I say, I'd be interested in Tim's philosophy on it, because I like to listen to somebody like him on a subject like that, because it'll inform my thinking. Is it worth doing? Is it important to do? Is it
Yeah.
sort of optional? What's the thought on it, you know?
Yeah. So there's a possibility of 9 windows. 9 windows.
Yes. Those three in the attic are definitely all custom things, though, because they're all they're
Right.
strange sizes.
So,
So how would you change well, I don't know if it'll still be, that's an RFQ, but how would you
yeah,
summarize what we've decided we need for the windows? I have a lot of notes here, not counting the attic, the 3 attic ones, because we need some advice.
You've got 6 storm windows, and
Uh,
all of those have to be measured in order to order them and get the right sizes. So
That's what we had in there.
that's what we had in there, and that's right.
Does that RFQ give the location of them, or is that not necessary?
I don't think that's necessary for the RFQ.
Um,
And she has in the thing
okay, so we'll,
to ask question, if you need this, you ask a question
I'm
here,
sorry?
and if you need information about the conditions of the thing, you contact her, and if they need
Oh, right.
information about specifics of the items, they contact us.
all right,
Could you
so
just,
we'll leave it at the 6th. And
could you just, I know this is tedious, but could you just locate the 6 for me? I know the ballroom, it was the last one.
okay, the
Yep.
2 on the new windows. Okay, starting at the entrance room,
2 in the entrance room.
on the 2 new windows. Okay,
Yep.
and then you come around, and then upstairs, the one that fell off,
Yep.
and then
And that's the east
the
end.
front
We're
is
still at
fine.
the, we're
Yes,
still at the east
that's
end.
still on the east end.
Yeah,
And
so
so that's
the
3.
front, yeah, and the south side is fine. And then you've got the one in the upstairs ballroom and 2 in the annex.
Okay, two for the entrance room, 1 upstairs on the east end, 1 for the ballroom, and 2 for the annex. That's 6.
Now, when I call Tim, I'll ask him about the attic windows and what he thinks can be done there and vent wise and such for later on.
Planned as an unheated attic.
Yeah, well, he knows that.
Yeah.
All right, and I'll ask him about the door,
In the kitchen.
yep, in the kitchen. And the pintles. And then, which this would be a good thing, okay? The locks, it would be nice if the 2 working doors, the passage doors, have 1 key. So that both doors are keyed with the same key.
Yeah.
So, you see what I'm saying? That way it's just one thing we have to worry about. When you got an emergency, you don't have to fumble for anything. So, but that,
There's a tricky
a
issue.
locksmith can do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you can, is that door that you have that's working and you've got the key for, I would think that we could do a lock for the back door that would work.
That would fit that. The tricky with all of that is that using that antique door and getting a latch that fits in it too is the antique doors are thinner. Even the ones with the plank on them are thinner than modern.
Yeah,
doors.
but a professional locksmith wouldn't have a problem with that.
I would hope not.
I don't think.
We have a Baldwin lock on the front door, and the key is a Schlage type key, though it's got a Baldwin head. And and I would think we could get another lock keyed the same. That's a level lock for handicap, and that would be a better thing to have on that back door, would be to have the same thing.
Same kind of handle.
Yeah,
That we saying, same kind of handle on the back door.
yeah.
So, but we can address that later. But
Yeah.
that's just one more little expense that's gonna,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
but we should take that into consideration. Just for ease of everybody, because there's so many people involved now, as far as building,
Oh,
you know,
oh, yeah.
fire.
Yeah.
So, let me see. Yeah, we need I got a note here for myself, a uniform key system, you know, somehow.
Well, there will just be those two doors, so I would think we could certainly accomplish that.
Right, work something, yeah. All right,
June?
Are we still obligated to answer questions that the select board had about a time frame? I mean, how, and the other question was removing stuff from the Bullard House. I mean, I don't know where we're going to put all of that without some, without they're giving us some additional space.
I couldn't agree more.
And what was the first I mean, those were two of the three questions. Do you remember what the other question was?
Well, they have a thing that they like to say of what is the plan and when is it going to get done to get the Bullet House done? And my answer to that is, with the political situation and the funding situation, there's no way we can give you any kind of a definitive answer to that. Well, I would love to say it'll be done next week, but obviously that's not going to happen. And as you try to do a job and you deal with the different things, there's just too many variables to give an answer to that question, the kind of an answer they want. Do they want to get us $1 million, $300,000 to work on things? Well, then maybe we could start to talk about a schedule. But until that, I don't know how you can answer that question.
Well, at some point, though, if we ask for money, we have to have a plan.
yeah,
And my training from Evie has been, you have to have a timeline, because your plan is not credible otherwise. And I can see that right now we're just in a muddle, but there will be a time when we're going to have to have a time frame. Otherwise, you can't ask for money. I mean, you can, but it doesn't.
Done is a problem.
what's that?
Having the whole house done and in open status is a huge, huge job. And right now we've got ourselves into this thing of working on structures, some of which could be done 5 or 10 years in the future. Just like anybody in their house, you live in your house and you go along, and when you can, you do this part of the repairs or this kind of the fix up and so forth. But the idea that you want there's a mentality of doing things like a job like we did the town offices. You spend $5 million and you build an addition and you do this and you do all the things there are to do. and you know, hire an architect and do it that way. And that would be lovely, but that's gonna, the price tag on that for this is huge. And it seems to me that there are some of the things that one can do, which could be done a few years down the road. But I mean, you know, as you would with your own house, you fix what you can when you can fix it, and then you fix something else, and you make your way.
Well, I have,
My thought is the priority is to get the first floor of the house open so that people begin to understand better what the whole purpose of it is. And then you can justify some of the other things you need to do further on down the line.
the problem, Barry, is that
Mhm.
it's been over 25 years now,
Mhm.
and they've not seen any progress. And now the house is full of stuff. And you know, I have to say, when Colin and I bought this place, okay,
Yeah.
we were determined to not make it our lifetime's work.
Yeah.
Okay, we
Mhm.
started upstairs,
Mhm.
worked our way down and out, and we managed to do it in 3 years, mostly by ourselves. Okay, until we were able to have somebody like Tim do the sills and things like that. But ours
Do the
were in relatively good shape. We're not talking about the same kind of thing that we're dealing with the Bullard House, and that should have been addressed first. And so we're going, we've got to get that done before we do anything further structural inside the house. We really do. It's gone too far. Its front is too far gone. We have to, that and the foundation, we have to do that before we can move ahead on the rest. And I think they'd be willing to give us the money to do that if we have the plan in place. Okay, but until they see more progress, I think we could. Financially is the thing that I think holds us back. You can put a plan in place, and then work the plan.
Mhm.
And
We've had the plan
I think
for
that's.
years.
I think, yeah, but I think we're starting over again. I know I'm a new face to the commission, but we spend a lot of time discussing and not getting stuff done, and that I find very frustrating. And yep, June.
I think that it's out there now with the select board that we have this survey and we need to address the foundation and
Right.
the other structural things which were not as significant. And I think I don't think there's any question that we have to do that.
Yeah, I think we have to, and I think once we get through the worst of the structural part, the rest should come much faster, I would think. And when people see work going on the place, there will be more interest, I think, if people even care anymore. I sometimes I get the feeling nobody cares.
No, we've taken too long and people
Right.
just won't go there. They just do something else instead.
Exactly.
And there's only a few of us who are really thinking about it still. That's what I hear. That's what I hear.
And we've lost several of our people that were really visionary with us.
Yeah.
That has been one of the real killers in the whole thing, is that we don't have the people that we developed the vision with to help us now.
Well, and it's hard to attract anyone new to it too, because of the way things are.
Yeah, we really have to just face that and not back and fill.
Well, we also have to get ourselves with a plan. And I go back to the preservation plan time and time again, because that is a comprehensive plan. And I feel that we need to refine our current structural survey so that we've got all of that squared away and we can agree on where we are with it. And then we modify the preservation plan to take that into consideration so that we have ourselves a plan again of the whole picture. And the preservation plan includes things like how we plan to use the museum and how what the priority for some of the rooms would be in terms of their use and all of that. And that is all part of what a plan is. It's not that we've never had a plan, we've got a plan, but we've also got this new survey that we need to work into that plan, rework the portions of the plan that need it in order to incorporate that. And probably the preservation plan as written needs to be remodeled a bit for priority too. And that would help a lot of people maybe to understand it better. Yes, Anne. Yes, Jim.
To me, the building survey, the structural integrity survey is very different from the preservation plan. The Bullitt House preservation plan doesn't deal with the, I mean, I just read it again over the last couple of days, and it doesn't deal with the structural problems except kind of generically. So you're right. We need to integrate the two plans.
Yeah.
But the preservation plan focuses on, well, first focuses on the story that the building tells in terms of its construction, and then it addresses how that informs the use of it.
Mm-hmm.
But this is how to fix the building so you can do those things. That's how I see it.
The end of it addresses some of these same things: sill replacement and taking the front of the house off and
right,
making all those repairs. I mean, those things are in the preservation plan in less specificity.
Yes.
And so forth. I mean, they weren't ignored. They just it just isn't it doesn't impress you as the thrust of it, and that's part of why I say it needs to be revised to incorporate all of it. But the reason I say the big plan is because when you really talk about it, I mean, if you were going to go to an architect to try to do a big job, you would need all of these things about the planned use in order for them to do their work. So that's why I say you need to bring these two things together, and I think that's what we should be working on in our meetings going forward, is to work on precisely that. And I think probably we need to have a special meeting or two even to begin doing that. Right now, I mean, one of the things is it's like the windows and what we just discussed. Part of it is from a purely structural standpoint, oh, we got to fix the window. But until you put in perspective what has been done before and which windows are new and which windows are old and which windows are an odd size and those kinds of things, you're not ready to do it until you've incorporated all that. And that's why I say the broader plan and what the future is. Look at the discussion about that back door. And here's a solution, and here's how we could solve it. But we have to put it all together because it's partly the current need to secure the building, and partly what is the long-term plan for, preservation and an old door, a new door, things like that.
Well, maybe we should have. Does it have to be an open meeting for us to talk about this?
Unfortunately, yes. And right now, this seems to be the only way we can do it. I say unfortunately, yes, because what we'd rather do is go in a room together and work on it. And that part is taken away from us right now. But I think we can make progress on it and do something significant with it. But we've got to get so we're all on the same page too.
Would we be allowed to have an open meeting there? If we broke down what we need to do in order to integrate the two plans into like 3 chunks or more, I don't know. Would we be allowed to have an open meeting there? I guess we'd have to have help because they would have to.
I'm working on another
I
plan for meeting, because I've got this problem with the Cemetery Commission, because the other 2 members do not function electronically at all. And what I'm trying to work on right now, and I've got to talk to Margaret and work on it, to have a Zoom meeting, in our case at the town offices in the winter, and have us all there together in a Zoom meeting, and maybe put Margaret on it or somebody else, so that we can have it as a Zoom meeting, so it's legal that way, but to actually have ourselves in the same area so that we can I can deal with the fact that we've got people that don't function electronically. They can't get on with a computer. So if I can make that kind of thing work, then maybe we can find a way that we can meet in similar fashion that would work for us, but that we have it on Zoom, which takes care of the legalities of open meeting.
Okay, one of the things we can do, I think, the way we did today, okay, going around the house, room by room, by room, okay, we could do it this way, it's just us, maybe do the downstairs. And how do you envision it? What do you, or the upstairs, whichever, take them in segments. And what kind of exhibits are you thinking? I mean, I don't know everything that's in the collection. I'm like out of that loop.
Yeah.
Okay. And we got to have a plan, as for how frequently we have these exhibits, and are we going to have it open 1 day a week, and things like that, or weekends, or what we get things like that you have to think about. But it would be nice to have an idea to walk, room by room. I mean, I can picture them all in my head. Like, we don't need exact details, but what do you envision? What do you folks think? What do people in the society think? We can walk through it ourselves, and then maybe have a Zoom meeting with the society.
Yeah, I would like to have Edith in on this. And I'll try to think about who else. I mean, obviously Richard, I would want Richard, but Richard's not here. I do think there's some validity.
I think we got to walk through
at least some of it in the house.
Yes, that would help me.
Because
right. But if we,
some of what we've talked about today.
But if we
talk about a nicky-dicky little window in the attic that most of the people haven't seen up close is really tough when you're just talking in words and trying to visualize. So I really think there's something valid about going through some of this in the house and talking about them room by room and area by area, partly so that it helps to get us all so we're operating from the same set of facts or the same basis.
Yeah, I think we could do it just as a commission first, do a run through, a dry run through without being in the house. Okay. Talk about all the different things. Okay.
Yeah.
And, to give us all a better idea of direction. Okay. Because I have, like I say, I have no clue what's there. And then open it up. Okay. Mm-hmm. But do an initial one so that we can get the bulk of, whatever we're thinking. Do one floor at one meeting and another floor at another meeting. And then maybe in the better weather, we can, incorporate more people or something into it. But at least that would help us to work towards a plan. rough plan.
I think this is the kind of a process we need to do. And I do think that we really maybe should start out with at least one meeting that we're in the house and chatting about the rooms a bit and being in each room and,
Well, there's a way to do that.
yeah,
There's a way to do that. And we can do it by Zoom. If one of us has, walks around with a computer and talks it,
that's right.
okay?
Yeah,
We can do it that way.
that's right. We could do that. And that would work.
But I honestly think we got to get a lot of crap out of there before you start bringing people, to see it the way it is now.
Well, we understand that, and while I doubt that we'll ever get it all out, we certainly can get significant parts out.
Right.
Some
But
of
meanwhile-
that, I mean, some of the stuff that's upstairs, we've got space planned in the new building to move some of that up there.
Right.
But I know it's a limit, it can't be all of it, but a significant part of it, we can get out that way. And the other piece that's got to work, and I was thinking about it this morning, is that the selectmen have only promised us the use of the fire station through December of 2021. And that's making me think that I'm not even sure I want to move the stuff that's in the attic of the town offices over there. Because if they might make us move it out, why move it now? We've got to get the stuff out of the room downstairs so that they can have that for other uses. And
Right.
I'm just as happy to get out of the political conflicts that seem to surround that. But yeah, I mean, we've got to get all the stuff out of that room and get it in places. And we need to reduce the stuff in the bullet house as much as possible. And particularly the furniture, like in the parlor, I don't know where we're going to put it, because if we've got to take it out, I would think we could have some room of the house we could keep some furniture in at various times.
Could we store any of that in the Memorial Hall?
Well, that would preclude the use of Memorial Hall for other things. I mean,
Well,
a few pieces, but-
How many things are we having there's nothing open?
well, at the moment, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know how soon Memorial Hall, how soon the town hall. Theoretically, it's open for use now, but there's darn little use, and there's likely to be very little use until COVID passes. And all of us are in a holding pattern there. We'd like to think by September things will be different, but I don't know.
right.
With the variations that are coming around now, I'm not sure that we're going to see it that soon.
I think we're in it for a while, but
Yeah.
Meanwhile, did you want to plan on, I mean, we've got a lot of things to do, and can I go ahead and do another I'll talk to Tim and I'll try to work up another RFQ, for the changes. It's really not as bad. It's really not as
It's
bad.
not too bad.
I just got to talk to him first.
Yeah.
Okay. And
And I would like us to also work on the issue of the foundation. I've got stuff I've collected to do a report on the work that was done previously around the back of the house. And I would like to get that written, and I've got some pictures to go with it. And I'm hoping that plus taking up that section of the floor in the kitchen and getting a couple of pictures of that will suffice to help us make some modification of the issues about foundation in the back.
okay,
And I also want to write about the water coming in that comes in from the lawn through the place and it basically all the water that is a problem there comes in from one end in one area. And if we sealed up that area, it might help a lot.
okay.
Also, if we did the handicap parking that we need to do,
I can't see doing that.
Change.
I can't see doing that until the end, until we're ready to.
But that's what's going to solve the cellar problem.
Well, there's other problems with the cellar too that do have to be addressed. So, and we do want to try and get a bulkhead or something on that other side.
Well, I really question the idea of pouring more money into moving an oil tank around and all the stuff when we already spent the town's money putting it there.
I don't think that's a lot of, I don't know what it would cost. I don't know.
It was less, I think it was a little less than 2,000 when we got a new pad and
Yeah,
it was,
Yeah.
wasn't it about $2,000?
I would have to look for it. I would say yes, but I don't know.
And we can't leave it the way it is. I mean, you can't get a legal stairway into that old stairway.
A legal stairway?
Yeah, I mean, what do they call it? Code, a stairway according to code.
Well, no, because there's not enough room to put it there,
Right,
to put a code stairway.
right. So I think
But
the
you don't
bulkhead
need-
is,
It's not a public space, so I don't know why you need a code stairway.
So what would the bulkhead do besides,
would give outside access. It would eliminate people having to go through the house when it's a museum or whatever we're going to use it for, to do the work. Whatever has to be done, any servicing, as it is now, right now. I mean, I don't know how you're gonna get anybody in there to service it.
but the bulkhead only takes you into underneath the front of the house. How would you access?
Well, that's the only cellar there is under the front, right?
Right, so,
Right.
So that's the access to the furnace and the tank.
right, but it doesn't access anything else.
Right, and that's the point, that nobody, like, you can have workmen in there and you don't have to have them up in the house.
I'm still in this meeting, but I'm having a serious problem with outside interference in my computer. I may have to just terminate. I
Okay.
don't know.
All right, so I'll talk to Tim, I'll get this done and
Yes,
send it to all of you again,
yes,
Margaret
that
and
would be super.
and Margaret.
That would be super. And
But I don't think we have to get somebody separate. I think, that's not how I read his subcontract thing. I'll ask him that. I'll ask him.
yeah, I'm happy to have Tim do the things that Tim needs to do, but it's silly to pay Tim to do and have him take his time to do this other stuff that any good contractor can do.
But
Well, who's gonna have, I can't keep doing this. Who's gonna?
No,
who's gonna-
no,
who's gonna
I
do
know, I know.
but it would be up to Tim to choose that other person. Is that
Well, that's what I thought he was doing. I thought that's what
that's what he suggested.
right, that's,
I'm
yeah.
not sure that Margaret.
I think Margaret misinterpreted.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, okay, we're all on the same page with that.
No,
Yeah.
we'll have to talk to Margaret about what she thinks too,
Yeah.
so we know.
Yeah,
we
okay, so
are
I'll
together on
talk to her, I'll talk to him and I'll talk
Yeah.
to her. Okay, all right,
Yeah.
and then we'll just move forward.
And this is where our priority is, and June and I are still working on going through stuff and moving stuff out of the bullet house as we can. And that's part of what we've been doing every week. And
Yeah.
we're going
Well-
to keep trying to do that too.
Mostly what we did was try to list what was in that little room, and we actually removed a couple of things that, a few things that can be worked on.
Like, what?
A couple of things were more information about Grace Tyler that we hadn't realized were there under the table.
The
So that's-
scrapbook.
Yeah, there's a lap desk. There's the actual lap desk that's mentioned. And then there's another scrapbook, and there's lots of things in the lap desk. So that's a thing that I can work on because I worked on the other. We took out toys that Mim had donated.
Mhm.
What else did we take out?
We made a list of that, and that stuff will be going down with,
Yeah.
going with the other toys up to the new building.
Right, and then we
Um,
also, we had a rolled up sheaf of charcoal drawings that Barry was familiar with because I think they belonged to your family. And
I think they were in our attic years ago.
yeah, and we actually cleaned them up as best we could and flattened them out, and they're in the parlor with
Weights
trying
on
to,
'em.
yeah, with with flat
Flattening
irons
them.
and foam core and then flat irons on top of the foam core. So
I have come up with the idea on that one guy that I thought I knew who it was, and indeed I did. And it turns out that that guy married one of those two sisters later in life. The two sisters, Anna and Emma, apparently both were involved with art. And those drawings, I'm not too sure for sure who did which. There's one or two that are signed with Emma's initials. There were two sisters. They lived in the old house that was on the location where Hefner lives on West Street. And their father was a retired minister. And they were about the same age. One of them was the same age as my grandmother. And chances are they knew each other junior high school age, roughly, when the West School and Center School kids might have come together in one place. And then they knew themselves, they were friends through their lives, based on things that I've heard, though I don't have an awful lot to document that. And I also found my grandmother's copy of the history has a lot of notes about that family in it. And June, I'll share that stuff with you.
that's good.
That talks about who married who and where they lived later and some of those kinds of things. And fortunately, she wrote things in 2 or 3 places in there that add to the information about those people, though nothing really that helps us with the artwork itself.
Yeah. Well, that's good though.
Yeah.
There's a pretty good amount of stuff that we identified as that could go into a yard sale also.
Oh yes, we also had things for a yard sale.
I'm not sure. I mean, there's jewelry, there's craft items, and there's there's plate, silver plate, things like that. I don't know where we're going to put them in the meantime. Maybe in some corner and just designate it as yard sale stuff. But
we've got yard sale stuff in the ballroom already that we had when we had a yard sale before. And I think those things that were piled up there in the middle were in a yard sale that we did several years ago as part of the Friendship Village Fair when they had a big yard sale in front of the meeting house. The Historical Society took a booth and had some of that stuff in. And we sold some stuff that day, but not nearly enough. But yeah, we have been identifying stuff that we can jettison.
Yeah.
One way or another. And we're trying to get that small room in the second floor cleaned out so that we can actually use it as a workspace, because it is a room that, without heating up the rest of the house, that room will stay warm. And you can go in there and work much more comfortably than you can anywhere else in the house without turning up the heat everywhere else. We could probably go on about 10 other things, but I think that we've got the stuff done for today. I'm wondering whether we want to schedule another meeting before our next monthly meeting to start to work on that whole business of a plan.
Of the what?
Of a plan.
The plan.
Integrating the plan.
Yeah.
That would be good. Do we have to do that?
I think we can do the mental walkthrough, just mentally, going through, and we can talk. We can do both floors. And then you can do it with your computer, and include more people.
Well, I think we can do it with the computer even then, if we're going to be meeting on Zoom, I think
Yeah.
we can. I think, what I need to do is take the computer up there and see if I can get onto the town hall's,
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. And if I can do that, then we can do it that way.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, and I'll talk to Mary, because when we had that other meeting there, she had that all on Zoom, but I don't know just how. And I need to find that out too. So
She used her phone.
I think it was with her phone. I think it was
I
with her
think-
phone.
I think you're right. So if somebody could do that, that would be another way we could do it too.
Well, I've done Zoom on my phone.
I think that it would be helpful to have another person along to do that part, because
Yeah.
to take notes and to hold a phone, you know,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
maybe,
I can do that with my phone.
Oh,
Because the
okay.
first couple of meetings, I was on my phone. I didn't
Okay.
You'd have to-
I didn't want to put Zoom on this computer,
Yeah.
but I ended up having to. But but I've got that available and it is on my phone.
you'd have to
Okay.
host the meeting.
I wonder whether you can host
You'd
the
have-
meeting
Yeah,
from the
you'd have to
phone.
host.
No, if he hosted it, if he signed up and hosted it on his laptop, started on your laptop,
Yeah.
okay. I can Zoom. I can do the Zoom walkthrough and you can do a narrative.
Yeah.
I'd be photographing you going through
Yeah.
and we can be having a conversation.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
I
Yeah.
understand it. I just don't know are you sure that that works?
Well,
Yeah.
we'll have to test it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll have to
It must,
test it out.
yeah.
I've got,
Um,
well, we'll try to work on that. And because I think there's something that is pretty valuable about kind of working our way through and getting ourselves to the point where we
Yeah.
are all coming from the same
Yeah.
place.
But you-
better.
It's important to me
We'd
to
have to all
actually
be on
be
the-
there. It helps me a lot to actually be there. Physically, I think. Do you want to
Okay.
do it on a Tuesday at 10?
yeah, we'd need a Zoom number, to,
Well, we can arrange that. And the daytime is usually not hard to arrange with this town one.
Okay, so in 2 weeks maybe, or next,
yeah. Well, did you want to host it from home and June and I can walk through? Or do you
Right.
want to,
Those are definite possibilities.
okay,
We'll
we'll
see.
work,
I'm going to start by trying to see if I can get the computer to go online through the town hall. I know Faith sometimes can do that.
yeah, I
So
know.
I'm going to see if I can do that from here. And if that'll work, then we know we've got a basis that we can do it from.
Yeah.
And if not, then I can host it from home and you guys can go there with the phone.
Oh, yeah, I would need Wi-Fi on the phone for that. So I would have to be able to tap into that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. When you use your phone, were you using your Wi-Fi at home or were you just
have
using
to.
the phone?
You have to be tied into Wi-Fi for Zoom.
Okay.
my phone has unless there's no service, uses the plan that the phone is on.
Yeah, I wouldn't be on, how would this work? You'd have to dial me. Yeah, we could probably do it. I haven't played with that. I haven't done any of that. I can reverse the camera so you can see,
Mhm.
but I wouldn't be on Zoom. I mean, I can do it either way.
I think, that Mary, what I'm remembering is that Mary said her attempt to do that on her phone at the Bullard House could be improved a lot. I remember her saying that. Not sure
Alright.
when she said that, but in
Okay,
a month, maybe a couple months ago. So
yeah,
she would be the one that would have to advise us as to whether that would work.
yeah, I can
Yeah.
talk to her about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And depending on what version iPhone she had, you know,
Yeah, I don't have it. I have an Android.
right. I do finally have a real phone. But, all right. So when are you gonna do the meeting? 2 weeks?
Do you want it in 2 weeks? Would you think we should try to do it in 1 week to start?
I'm under a crunch.
Okay, 2 weeks.
Um, I got deadlines that
Okay.
I've gotta finish. And,
All right, let's try for 2 weeks from today. I will post a meeting, and that while we may do a little general business, it's not the regular meeting, it's a meeting for the special purpose.
right,
And I will post it as a Zoom meeting, but I'm also going to post it as
a working meeting.
a location meeting, a field visit meeting. That's the
Yeah.
word I want.
Yeah.
And that the purpose is to work on the Bullet House Preservation Plan update.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to suggest that we adjourn. I think we've already spent a long time, but we've got things done we needed to do, and I think we've got our work cut out to move ahead next.